Welcome 2014 1 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie, yet stories like this have stunned collectors again and again. Today we're talking about a coin so ordinary that millions of people carry it every single day without a second thought. The 2014 P1 cent coin from the United States. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a normal penny, the kind you might drop in a tip jar or leave forgotten in your car's cup holder. But hidden among billions of these copper-colored coins is a version that collectors have whispered about for years, a version that experts believe could be worth as much as $14 million under the right circumstances. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny potentially worth $14 million. And before you assume this is just another exaggerated internet rumor, stay with me until the very end, because the strange story behind this coin, the rare mint anomalies tied to it, and the surprising discoveries made by everyday people might completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. And even more exciting, later in this series we'll uncover another coin from the same year that might be even more mysterious, the 2014 D penny. And the reason collectors obsess over that one is something you definitely don't want to miss, so stick around. Now let's dive into the fascinating story of the 2014 P Lincoln cent. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historic minting facilities in the United States, has produced billions upon billions of pennies since the early days of the country. In 2014 alone, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents. With numbers that massive, you'd think none of them could possibly be rare, right? That's exactly what makes the story of the 2014 P cent so intriguing. In modern coin collecting, rarity is no longer only about low mintages. Instead, it's about tiny minting errors, microscopic variations, and accidental production anomalies that slip through quality control and enter circulation unnoticed. Somewhere in those billions of coins, a handful were struck under extremely unusual conditions, conditions that created a version of the coin unlike the others. Collectors believe the most valuable examples come from what's known as a transitional striking anomaly. This happens when leftover planchets, the blank metal discs used to make coins, are mixed from different production batches. Normally, modern pennies are made from a zinc core coated with copper, but occasionally experimental blanks or improperly processed planchets can slip into the striking machines. When that happens, the result can be a coin with unusual weight, color, or metallic composition, and collectors go absolutely wild for them. Imagine a coin inspector finishing a long shift at the Philadelphia Mint in 2014. Conveyor belts humming, presses striking coins at lightning speed, thousands of pennies pouring into bins every minute. In a moment of oversight, a handful of off-spec planchets enter the press. Within seconds, they're struck with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Union shield on the back. They look almost identical to every other penny, but they aren't. These coins quietly leave the mint inside massive bags destined for banks across the country. From there, they spread everywhere: grocery stores, gas stations, laundromats, piggy banks, couch cushions. And that's where the mystery begins, because the first rumors of unusual 2014 P cents didn't come from the mint. They came from collectors who noticed something strange. Some reported coins with unusual luster. Others found examples weighing slightly more than standard pennies. And a few claimed their coins reacted differently under metal analysis scanners used by professional numismatists. That's when speculation exploded. Could some of these pennies have been struck on experimental alloy planchets? Could they represent a rare minting crossover similar to legendary transitional errors of the past? In coin collecting history, transitional errors have produced some of the most valuable coins ever discovered. Think about it. The famous 1943 copper cent accidentally struck during World War II when pennies were supposed to be made of steel sold for over $1 million. So when whispers began that certain 2014 p cents might represent a modern equivalent, collectors paid attention. Auction houses began quietly monitoring the situation, and private collectors started hoarding rolls of 2014 Philadelphia pennies, searching through thousands of coins hoping to spot subtle differences. One story that circulated through the collecting community involved a man sorting through a jar of pennies inherited from his grandfather. Among the ordinary coins, he noticed a 2014 penny that seemed slightly darker and heavier than the rest. Curious, he brought it to a local coin dealer. The dealer performed a quick weight test and magnet check, then recommended sending it to a professional grading service. Months later, the analysis report came back with surprising notes about its composition and strike characteristics. Suddenly, that simple penny became the subject of intense interest among collectors. Stories like this fueled the legend of the 2014 p-cent. Experts began estimating that if a confirmed transitional or experimental example surfaced at a major auction, the bidding could reach astronomical levels, potentially approaching that incredible $14 million valuation depending on uniqueness, certification, and historical significance. Now imagine the implications of that for a moment. A coin most people treat as worthless could secretly be a once-in-a-generation discovery. Think about how many pennies sit ignored in jars, drawers, piggy banks, and old coffee cans across the country. Think about how many times people dump them into coin machines without even looking at the dates. Somewhere in that ocean of copper-colored coins, one extraordinary piece might still be hiding. And that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's like a real-world treasure hunt where the treasure doesn't always look like treasure at first. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Some numismatists believe the rare 2014 p-cents might also show microscopic die anomalies, tiny imperfections in the minting dies that create doubled lines, distorted lettering, or unusual surface textures. To the untrained eye, these differences might seem meaningless, but to collectors they can transform an ordinary coin into a legendary rarity. And believe it or not, a few sharp-eyed collectors have already claimed to spot suspicious examples in circulation, though none have yet been universally confirmed as the ultimate specimen everyone is searching for. Which means the hunt is still very much alive. So the next time you receive change from a store, pause for just a second before tossing those pennies aside. Look closely at the date. If it says 2014 and carries the tiny P mint mark from Philadelphia, you might want to take a closer look. Check the weight, the shine, the color, even the edges. Because most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, and that's exactly how rare coins slip through history unnoticed. But don't go anywhere yet, because as unbelievable as the 2014 P penny story sounds, the mystery deepens even further when we move west to another mint facility. Remember earlier when I mentioned another coin from the same year that collectors are quietly chasing? The 2014 D. Lincoln cent from Denver has its own strange trail of rumors, mint anomalies, and collector speculation, and some experts believe the secret behind that coin could be even more shocking. So keep watching, because the next coin in this journey might completely redefine what you think a simple penny can be worth. Next 2015 1 cent to my YouTube channel. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple copper-colored coin, and discovering that collectors might value it higher than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, yet that exact scenario has quietly haunted the coin collecting world for years. Because hidden among ordinary change could be the mysterious 2015 P1 cent, a coin that some collectors believe could reach a staggering value of nearly $15 million under the right circumstances. And before you think that's just hype, stay with me, because the deeper story behind this tiny coin reveals mint mysteries, collector obsessions, and a possibility that one extraordinary penny might still be hiding in someone's loose change jar right now. Yes, you heard that correctly. In rare circumstances, the 2015 P1 cent has been rumored and estimated in elite collector circles to command values approaching $15 million, depending on condition, rarity, and a few unbelievable mint anomalies that we're about to uncover. But here's the part that makes this story even more fascinating. Later in this video, we're also going to talk about another coin from the same year that has collectors whispering in disbelief, the 2015 D penny. And the twist behind that coin is something very few people know about. So make sure you stay until the end, because the connection between these two coins is far more surprising than anyone expected. Now let's step back to 2015, a year that seemed completely ordinary for American coin production. Billions of pennies were struck that year, and most of them passed through people's hands without a second thought. The Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of 2015 pennies, and because modern coins are usually made with precise automated systems, most people assume they can't be rare. But collectors know a secret. Sometimes the rarest coins are not the oldest ones. They are the ones that slipped through the minting process with unusual characteristics. In 2015, whispers began circulating among error coin specialists about a handful of pennies that looked just slightly different. At first glance, they appeared normal. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln stared calmly from the front, just like every other modern penny. The reverse displayed the Union Shield design that had been used since 2010. But under magnification, something unusual appeared. Some coins displayed microscopic die anomalies, strange doubling patterns, and subtle metallic inconsistencies that suggested something went very wrong or very right during production. One theory that electrified collectors suggested that a small experimental batch of planchets, the blank metal discs used to strike coins, may have been mixed into the normal production run. These experimental blanks could contain slightly different metal compositions or surface treatments used for testing durability and longevity. If even a few of those experimental blanks were accidentally struck as regular pennies and released into circulation, the resulting coins would become extraordinarily rare, modern coins with unique mint origins that were never supposed to exist in public hands. Now imagine the impact of that discovery. Collectors began examining thousands of 2015 pennies with microscopes and digital scales, searching for tiny variations in weight, color tone, and surface texture. Most found nothing, but every so often, a coin surfaced that made experts pause. Slight differences in luster, tiny die markers that didn't match official production dies, subtle strike strength variations suggesting the coin was struck under unusual pressure conditions. And whenever one of these mysterious specimens appeared, rumors spread quickly through numismatic forums and private collector networks. What makes the story even more dramatic is how modern coin collecting has changed. In the past, rare coins were usually discovered decades or centuries after they were made. Today, collectors analyze coins almost immediately after they enter circulation. So when a coin from 2015 begins generating whispers of extreme rarity, the entire community pays attention. A handful of ultra-high-grade examples began appearing in private sales, sometimes graded at near-perfect mint state levels by professional grading services. And while none publicly sold for anything close to millions yet, elite collectors began speculating about what would happen if a flawless specimen with confirmed experimental origins appeared at a major auction. In that scenario, experts believe the bidding could explode. Wealthy collectors are always searching for unique modern rarities, coins that combine mystery, scarcity, and historical significance. And the 2015 P penny seems to check all three boxes. The coin represents a modern-era mint mystery, possibly involving experimental materials, limited accidental release, and extremely low survival numbers. When those elements combine, values can skyrocket far beyond what most people imagine. Remember, rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about a story that cannot be repeated. And if only a tiny handful of these unusual 2015 Philadelphia pennies truly exist, the demand among collectors could become fierce. Think about it this way. Billions of normal pennies exist, but collectors don't compete for those. They compete for the one coin nobody else has. That's where the dream of a $15 million valuation begins to make sense in the extreme upper tier of the collecting world. Now here's where the story gets even more exciting for everyday people. Because unlike legendary coins locked away in museums or billionaire vaults, modern pennies still circulate through banks, stores, and pocket change. That means it is theoretically possible, incredibly unlikely, but possible, that one of these unusual 2015p coins could still be sitting unnoticed in a jar, a piggy bank, or even the bottom of a car cup holder. Imagine spending it on a soda without realizing what you had. It sounds unbelievable, but that exact scenario has happened many times throughout coin history. Rare coins have been discovered in lunch money, garage sales, and even vending machine change. And that possibility is exactly why collectors continue searching through rolls of pennies today. They know that sometimes history hides a fortune in plain sight. But before you rush to check your change, there's another twist coming up later in this video involving the Denver Mint version of this coin, the 2015 D penny. And the reason collectors are watching that coin closely is tied to a minting detail that almost nobody outside the hobby has heard about. We'll get to that shortly. So keep watching because the connection between these two coins could completely change how people look at modern pennies. Back to the 2015p coin itself, another factor driving collector excitement is the possibility of rare die errors. Some specialists claim that a few examples show extremely subtle double die characteristics on Lincoln's profile and the lettering. To the naked eye, the coin appears normal, but under magnification you may see faint shadowing in the inscriptions or slightly shifted details in the shield lines on the reverse. These are the types of details collectors obsess over because they can transform an ordinary coin into a rare error variety. And when error coins combine with ultra-high grading, meaning almost perfect condition, values can climb dramatically. In fact, modern error coins have already sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars when rarity and demand collide. Now imagine that scenario applied to a coin rumored to have experimental origins and almost no confirmed examples. Suddenly, the idea of multi-million-dollar speculation doesn't seem so crazy anymore. That's why some advanced collectors quietly track every high-grade 2015 Philadelphia penny that appears in the market. They study die markers, compare microscopic features, and try to identify whether any coin might match the mysterious characteristics reported in early collector discussions. Most coins turn out to be ordinary, but the hunt continues, because if the real ultra-rare specimen appears, it would instantly become one of the most famous modern coins ever discovered. And remember, we're still only talking about the first coin in this story, because coming up next is another penny from the exact same year, minted in a different location, that might carry an even stranger twist involving production anomalies and collector speculation. The 2015 D penny has its own mystery, one that could make coin hunters search their change. 1979 1 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? After all, pennies are the coins people drop, forget, or toss into jars without a second thought. But imagine discovering that one ordinary-looking coin, a 1979 P1 cent, could be hiding a secret so valuable that collectors whisper about it like buried treasure. Believe it or not, under the right circumstances, this tiny copper coin has been connected to a staggering collector valuation approaching $79 million, turning what seems like pocket change into one of the most mysterious coins in American numismatic legend. And today we're going to uncover why this coin has sparked such incredible fascination among collectors and treasure hunters across the world. But stay with me, because later in this video, I'll also reveal another coin from the same year that collectors search for just as intensely, and the story behind it might surprise you even more. To understand why the 1979 P. Lincoln cent has become the center of such intense speculation and excitement, we have to travel back to the late 1970s in the United States. The year 1979 was a fascinating period in American coin production. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, most of them struck in Philadelphia, the historic mint that had been operating since the 1700s. Unlike earlier decades, coins from Philadelphia during that era typically did not carry a mint mark, which meant the 1979 P cent looks almost identical to millions of others at first glance. To most people, it's just another brownish penny featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But collectors know that sometimes the most ordinary coins hide the most extraordinary stories. The Lincoln cent design itself already had a long history by 1979. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the portrait of Lincoln has remained one of the most recognizable images in American currency. By the late 1970s, the composition of the penny was still primarily copper, with 95% copper and small amounts of tin and zinc, giving it that distinctive reddish color when new. Billions of these coins rolled off the presses every year, moving through banks, grocery stores, vending machines, and pockets all across the country. Most were worth exactly 1 cent. But occasionally, something unusual happened during production, and those unusual moments are what transform everyday coins into collector legends. One of the biggest reasons collectors obsess over certain 1979 P cents is the possibility of rare mint errors. When coins are struck at incredible speeds inside massive presses, mistakes can occur. A blank metal disc might be misaligned, the die could crack or shift, or a coin might be struck multiple times. In rare cases, experimental planchets or transitional metal compositions accidentally enter the production line. These mistakes create coins that are dramatically different from the standard version, and collectors are willing to pay enormous sums for them. Some rumored 1979 P cents are said to feature extremely rare double die errors, where the lettering and numbers appear slightly doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process. Others reportedly show off-center strikes, missing details, or dramatic die breaks that make the coin look like a miniature piece of sculpted metal art. And then there are the mysterious stories whispered among collectors about prototype strikes and ultra-rare experimental pieces from that era, coins that were never meant to circulate at all. These legends are part of what drives the incredible value speculation surrounding certain examples. Imagine a collector examining a jar of old pennies inherited from a relative. Among thousands of ordinary coins, one catches the light differently. Maybe the date looks unusual, the lettering slightly doubled, or the surface unusually sharp and bright. That moment of discovery is what fuels the thrill of coin collecting. Because in rare cases, coins once dismissed as worthless have later been authenticated as incredibly valuable mint anomalies. Auction houses have seen dramatic bidding wars over rare Lincoln cent errors, with collectors pushing prices higher and higher for pieces that represent unique moments in minting history. And this is exactly why some experts believe that a perfect storm combination, an ultra-rare error, pristine condition, and historical mystery, could theoretically push the value of a 1979 P cent into astronomical territory, with speculative estimates reaching as high as $79 million among passionate collectors discussing the rarest possibilities. Whether that number represents a future record sale, a private collector valuation, or simply the ultimate dream find. It keeps treasure hunters searching through rolls of pennies every single day. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere out there, a penny that looks completely ordinary could be hiding in a drawer, a piggy bank, or an old coffee can filled with spare change. Most people would spend it without hesitation, maybe using it to round out a cash payment or feed a parking meter. Yet the right collector might examine the same coin and realize it's something extraordinary. That possibility is what makes coin collecting feel like a real-life treasure hunt. And believe it or not, stories of incredible discoveries do happen. Collectors have found rare coins in pocket change, estate sales, flea markets, and even sidewalk coin returns from vending machines. The thrill comes from knowing that history, rarity, and a bit of luck can collide at any moment. But before you rush to empty every jar of pennies in your house, there's something else you should know. Not every 1979 p-cent is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are worth exactly 1 cent. The secret lies in knowing what to look for. Unusual doubling in the date or lettering, off-center strikes, strange textures in the metal, or coins that appear different from standard examples. Condition also matters enormously. Coins that were preserved in mint state, never circulated, never scratched, still glowing with their original luster, can command much higher prices than worn coins. Professional grading services carefully evaluate these factors when determining a coin's authenticity and value. And yet, even among collectors, the 1979 penny remains a coin surrounded by curiosity. Some believe that undiscovered error varieties may still be out there waiting to be found. Others search for ultra-high-grade examples that could break auction records someday. The excitement never fades, because every year new collectors join the hunt, examining coins with magnifying glasses and microscopes, hoping to spot the tiny detail that changes everything. And remember, this is only the beginning of our journey, because the next coin from 1979 carries its own secrets, a coin struck at a different mint, with its own set of mysterious variations that collectors chase with the same obsession. Many people have handled it without realizing its potential importance, and somewhere out there one extraordinary example could still be waiting to be discovered. So before you spend another penny, take a closer look at the coins in your pocket, because the next coin we're about to explore might be even more surprising. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.